Ancient religious beliefs were highly localized, with different civilizations developing their own pantheons and myths to explain the world around them. There is no historical evidence that any pantheon of gods, whether Egyptian, Hindu, or otherwise, was ever universally worshipped across the entire world. That said, we can explore both Egyptian and Hindu religious systems, their influence, and the way ancient people might have viewed their deities. Instead of viewing gods from different cultures as competing forces, ancient people typically saw their gods as local, guiding forces for their particular civilization, not entities that ruled over other distant lands. Here's a more detailed exploration, focusing on various aspects such as cultural contexts, the pantheons, and the geographical isolation of religions. Localized nature of ancient religions. Religious beliefs were often bound by geography. Egyptian gods were worshipped primarily in Egypt and regions influenced by Egyptian civilization, while Hindu gods were revered in the Indian subcontinent. Each culture developed its own gods based on its environment, historical experiences, and worldview. There was little concept of ruling all over the world by any single pantheon. Egyptian pantheon. The Egyptian pantheon was deeply connected to the Nile River, the desert, and the cycles of the sun. Gods like Ra, Osiris, and Isis symbolized different aspects of nature, death, and rebirth. Ra, the sun god, was seen as the ruler of all gods, traveling through the sky and the underworld each day. Osiris, the god of the dead, ruled over the afterlife, while Isis was revered as a protector and healer. Hindu pantheon. In contrast, the Hindu gods were deeply tied to the Indian environment and culture. Hinduism, which evolved over thousands of years, has a rich and diverse pantheon, with gods like Vishnu, Shiva, and Devi representing different cosmic forces. Vishnu is the preserver of the universe, Shiva is the destroyer and transformer, and Devi is the great mother goddess. Hindu gods are viewed as eternal cosmic forces rather than rulers over specific territories or civilizations. Cosmic roles of the Hindu gods. The Hindu gods were engaged in the cosmic cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction. Brahma creates the universe, Vishnu sustains it, and Shiva eventually destroys it, allowing for rebirth and renewal. These gods were not concerned with ruling over the earth or competing with other pantheons, but were more focused on maintaining cosmic order, dharma. Hindu cosmology is cyclical, with time divided into vast epochs called yugas, and the gods work to maintain balance throughout these cycles. Mythological and cultural boundaries. Egyptian and Hindu civilizations had minimal contact with each other in ancient times. While there were trade routes that connected distant civilizations, such as the Silk Road, religious ideas were largely confined to the regions where they originated. Egyptians did not worship Hindu gods, and Indians did not worship Egyptian gods. Each culture developed independently, creating gods that reflected their specific concerns and environments. Trade and cultural exchange. While the Egyptian and Indian civilizations were geographically distant, there were trade connections that might have led to some cultural exchanges, particularly during the time of the Persian and later Roman empires, which linked diverse parts of the ancient world. However, this exchange was more economic than religious. The Egyptians were more influenced by nearby cultures, such as Mesopotamians and later Greeks, while India had exchanges with Persia and Central Asia, but these interactions did not lead to the adoption of each other's gods. Religious syncretism, where elements of one religion merge with another, was common in many parts of the ancient world, but there is little evidence of this happening between Egyptian and Hindu religions. The Egyptian gods did merge with Greek deities after Alexander the Great's conquest of Egypt, leading to figures like Serapis, who combined aspects of Greek and Egyptian gods. However, Hindu gods remained largely distinct from this process of religious blending. Both Egyptian and Hindu religions shared a belief in a cosmic order. In Egypt, this was known as Ma'at, the principle of truth, balance, and justice, which was upheld by the gods, particularly the sun god Ra and the goddess Ma'at. In Hinduism, this concept is similar to Dharma, the cosmic law that governs the universe, human life, and the behavior of gods. The roles of the gods in both religions were focused on maintaining this cosmic order, but each system operated within its own cultural and geographical framework. One of the major focuses of Egyptian religion was the afterlife. Egyptians believed that after death, souls would be judged by Osiris and the other gods. The goal was to achieve a blessed afterlife, which was a central part of Egyptian worship practices. Hinduism, in contrast, teaches reincarnation, where the soul is reborn into a new body after death. The cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara, continues until the soul achieves moksha, or liberation from the cycle. The gods in both traditions were deeply involved in these processes, but in different ways. Egyptian gods were associated with the physical and spiritual life of ancient Egypt, and Hindu gods are part of a vast, complex religious tradition tied to the Indian subcontinent. Both systems of gods were engaged in their own cosmic functions, according to their respective belief systems. Religious beliefs in the ancient world were diverse, reflecting the unique cultures and environments in which they developed. While there may have been contact between civilizations, the gods worshipped by different peoples remained distinct. Egyptian and Hindu gods each played critical roles in their respective cultures, guiding their followers through life, death, and the afterlife, but they operated in separate worlds, both geographically and spiritually. In essence, Hindu gods and Egyptian gods were central to the spiritual life of their respective civilizations, but they were never in direct competition or interaction, as their worshippers lived in different parts of the ancient world with different concerns, values, and beliefs. If Hindu gods and Egyptian gods were to hypothetically meet, the outcome would depend on how we interpret such an encounter through the lens of mythology, symbolism, and the functions these gods serve within their respective belief systems. Since both sets of deities are integral to their own cosmologies and cultures, imagining a scenario where they interact offers a fascinating thought experiment. Hindu gods, like Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, represent the creation, preservation, and destruction of the universe. Egyptian gods like Ra, Osiris, and Isis are tied to the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, particularly in relation to the Nile and the afterlife. In a meeting, the gods might recognize their shared roles in maintaining the cosmic order, even though they approach these duties differently. Vishnu and Ra, both associated with cosmic preservation and the sun, might find common ground. Ra, as the sun god, sails across the sky and through the underworld every day, ensuring the continuation of life. Similarly, Vishnu, as the preserver of the universe, sustains balance across cosmic time. They may discuss their roles in maintaining order in the universe, with Ra focused on the daily cycle and Vishnu on the broader cosmic balance. Brahma, the Hindu god of creation, might converse with the Egyptian god Ta, who, in Egyptian myth, is said to have created the world by thought and speech. They would likely exchange ideas about the processes of creation. Both deities represent the initiation of existence, though in Hinduism, Brahma's role is cyclical, as the universe is constantly created, destroyed, and recreated, whereas Ta's creation in Egyptian belief is more permanent. Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction, would likely meet Anubis or Osiris, who are linked to death and the afterlife. While Shiva's destruction is a necessary part of the cosmic cycle to enable rebirth, Osiris and Anubis are concerned with guiding the dead to the afterlife and ensuring their safe passage. Shiva's role in transforming life into new beginnings might fascinate the Egyptian gods, as their focus on maintaining order in death contrasts with Shiva's cycle of death and rebirth. A major point of discussion might be the afterlife and the fate of souls. In Egyptian mythology, Osiris presides over the judgment of the dead, deciding whether souls are worthy to enter the afterlife. The concept of eternal life after judgment contrasts with the Hindu concept of reincarnation, samsara, where souls are reborn into new lives based on karma until they achieve moksha, or liberation from the cycle. Yama, the Hindu god of death, and Osiris might discuss the differences in how they govern souls. While Yama keeps track of karma and directs souls into their next life, Osiris weighs the heart of the deceased to determine whether they can enter the field of reeds, a paradise-like afterlife. A meeting between Devi various forms, such as Durga, Parvati, or Kali, and Isis, the Egyptian mother goddess and protector, could be another interesting interaction. Both are powerful female deities representing different aspects of femininity, protection, and cosmic power. Isis is known for her role in reviving Osiris and protecting her son Horus, while Devi, especially in her form as Durga, protects the world from demonic forces. They may recognize their roles as cosmic protectors and discuss their responsibilities toward their respective worlds. Kali, in particular, who embodies destruction to defeat evil, might find resonance with Isis, who also wields power to protect the cosmic order. In Egyptian mythology, Ra is the primary sun god, guiding the sun's journey across the sky. In Hinduism, the sun god Surya is revered as the source of all life. The two might find commonality in their solar symbolism, discussing their roles in nourishing life on Earth. While Ra travels through the underworld at night, fighting chaos to rise again, Surya is primarily seen as a steady, sustaining force. If conflict were to arise, it would likely stem from differences in how the two sets of gods view the cycle of life and death. Hindu gods, particularly Shiva, represent a more cyclical understanding of time, where destruction is as important as creation, leading to renewal. Egyptian gods, especially figures like Osiris, focus more on the afterlife as a place of eternal rest, with less emphasis on the idea of cosmic destruction and rebirth. This philosophical difference could lead to a debate about whether it's better for souls to move toward eternal rest, as in Egyptian belief, or to undergo cycles of rebirth, as in Hinduism. Yet, the gods might ultimately realize that their roles serve different purposes for their respective cultures and civilizations. Hindu and Egyptian mythologies emphasize rebirth. For Egyptians, rebirth is about the soul's renewal in the afterlife, as seen in Osiris's own death and resurrection myth. In Hinduism, rebirth is part of the samsara cycle, with liberation, moksha, as the ultimate goal. In their meeting, the gods might recognize that while they focus on different stages of life and death, Thoth, Egyptian god of wisdom and writing, and the Hindu goddess of knowledge, music, and the arts, could spark a fascinating exchange of wisdom. Thoth, often associated with the invention of writing and knowledge, and Saraswati, who presides over wisdom and education, pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, culture, and learning in their civilizations. Animal symbolism is important in both Egyptian and Hindu pantheons. Egyptian gods like Anubis, jackal-headed, and Horus, falcon-headed, are associated with specific animals that embody their powers. In Hinduism, gods like Ganesha, elephant-headed, and Hanuman, monkey god, represent divine qualities such as wisdom, strength, and devotion. A meeting between these gods could involve a symbolic exchange, with each deity explaining the significance of their animal representations in their spiritual duties. In the end, if the Hindu and Egyptian gods met, the outcome might be one of mutual respect, since both pantheons are based on maintaining cosmic order. Their meeting could be a celebration of diversity in how different cultures understand the universe, life, death, and the divine. The gods would likely recognize their different domains and purposes. Hindu and Egyptian gods would engage in dialogue about their cosmic responsibilities, comparing their roles in life, death, creation, and protection. Their meeting would not result in conflict, but in an exchange of divine knowledge.